So what does a shutdown mean for you and me? There's about 23,500 federal workers in Kentucky, and if you're one of those watching, then the shutdown may be having a big disruption to work and finances, but to everyone else that may be relying on Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, or Veterans Affairs, those benefits will still continue. SNAP payments are also expected to continue as long as money in a contingency fund holds out, and national parks have some limited operations. It seems to be on a case-by-case basis.
Most programs that come through Kentucky will continue. We've done it before. We'll do it again, but we'll be monitoring it day to day. And for those families, I'm hoping that neighbors will check in with them. We don't have direct programs depending on how long the shutdown lasts, but certainly want to find any way that we can help these Kentuckians.
Governor Andy Beshear offered a reassuring tone in this week's Team Kentucky that most programs will experience little disruption, but messaging from both Republican and Democratic state leaders are pointing the blame at the other for some of the potential impacts, like veterans waiting longer for benefits, farmers losing access to support programs, and small businesses being left in limbo waiting on permits. So let's open up the conversation. Representative Roberts, I'm going to start with you here. How do you think most people watching right now are feeling about the shutdown?
I think most Kentuckians are drastically disappointed in Congress's inability to keep our government open. And this is an issue that we see on all sides of the issues because we've been engaging in omnibus spending as a norm since 1982. And that's when government shutdowns really started, was in the 90s. And we have lost the ability to look at those core functions of the federal government: national defense, infrastructure, transportation, the judiciary, those issues, and being able to divide those out and coming together to get those issues funded while we're still focusing on quibbling over pet issues. And I think that we need to move past omnibus spending bills. I think it is having a negative impact on Kentuckians, especially those in the federal workforce. I think there's uncertainty, particularly with veterans benefits, with farmer issues, with air travel. I think that it's a negative thing that we're dealing with right now, Bodie.
Representative Yarmuth, or former Representative Yarmuth, you've been on the other side of this before, whenever you were in Congress. What do you think? How do you think this is going to be impacting most folks?
Well, Governor Beshear basically made the most critical point, and that's how long it's going to last. If it goes into next week, it's not going to affect anybody. Nobody's going to feel it, so forth. I agree with Mr. Roberts that there will be general frustration in the public about the chaos in Washington and the dysfunction there. Why can't you do the fundamental things? Justifiable complaint. If the longer it goes, though, it takes on a different dimension. The last shutdown we had in 2018 and 19 was 35 days. It really began to bite at some people. So you had, for instance, in Louisville, in the Louisville area, you have 5,000 roughly civilian employees at Fort Knox. None of those people got paid. They weren't considered essential military. And so they suffered. All of the retailers, all of the restaurants in that part of the state suffered. They lost business. The employees eventually got paid, all the back pay, so they were made well. Those businesses don't get well. They lose that business forever. So again, if it goes a long time, there'll be some pain felt. If it's a matter of days or a week or so, not so much. But it is frustrating, and having been through a number of those shutdowns, I've got firsthand experience knowing how helpless you feel and how ineffective you feel.
If I'm somebody who's furloughed right now, I believe I can apply for unemployment benefits. If I'm in that position, y'all think that I should?
Yeah.
It really depends on how long it goes, right?
Right, it depends on how long it goes. The current estimates are showing that it's about 500 more people who are going to be on unemployment in Kentucky, depending on how long this lasts. And we have a strange system as it is, and that's something that shows that there's a state impact whenever there's a federal shutdown.
Mr. Yarmuth, the point that Representative Roberts brought up about these omnibus continuing spending packages, why do you think that there's been this continuing issue in Washington where folks just can't seem to come to like an agreed upon budget?
Well, part of it is we have a bicameral legislature there, just like we do at the General Assembly here in Kentucky. Getting the Senate and the House to agree on anything is problematic. In the Senate, you have to have 60 votes. That complicates the matter. The biggest problem, though, is that there is almost a resignation in the budget process. People started, we passed a budget, we sometimes, rarely though, passed a budget resolution through the budget committee, which I chaired, and then would go to the appropriations committee, and the appropriations committee would maybe sometimes report bills out, maybe sometimes not, and then the Senate has to do the same thing. And over the recent years, the Senate's not even tried to do a budget. So they've just said, we're going to rely on a negotiated omnibus, continuing resolution, and then an omnibus to get the work done. We had a year-long process to try to see if we could come up with reforms to make the system work better, and we failed at that. So it's a big job. You're talking about essentially trying to figure out how to spend 1.7 or 8 trillion dollars every year, and it's messy.
About 30 seconds left here, Representative Roberts. As a state lawmaker looking up at federal lawmakers who really kind of can't seem to balance things, you know, responding to Mr. Yarmuth's point, I mean, does it not create some sort of frustration?
It certainly creates frustration. In the Kentucky Constitution, we're required to have a balanced budget. And I would like to see that happen at the federal level. I think it's shameful that we are $37 trillion in debt right now. If you're looking for the cause of inflation, there's primary cause right there. That's why it's more difficult to get into home ownership for people my age. It's why it's more difficult for your basic necessities to be met. It's why your grocery prices are going up. We have to get our national debt under control, and there are people who have been advocating for that, whether that's through the penny plan in order to ensure that we actually are living within our means. But we're just not seeing that conversation being taken seriously in Congress, and it needs to happen, and it needs to happen soon.